My name is William Batt-Freitas. As Dr. Levine says, I'm a former student of Sonoma State. First of all, I want to thank Dr. Levine for giving me the opportunity to speak here today. It's pretty exciting to come in as a professional and kind of talk about what I'm doing instead of hearing about it and having to write those papers the night before. I work for CBS Interactive in San Francisco. It's a subsidiary company of CBS, and it handles all of the CBS web properties in addition to many other web properties that they have acquired or bought or taken over, whatever the case may be. For the CBS sites, it includes cbsnews.com, cbssports.com, MoneyWatch, things like that. And then as far as the other sites, some of the top ones that pretty much everyone I'm sure has at least heard of are Last.fm, GameSpot, TV.com, Metacritic, MySimon. So all those things are in my company. I personally work for the CNET website, and just a little short company history. The company started out as CNET, and then in like the middle of the 2000s, they started acquiring other web properties themselves, and then just about 3 years ago, they were purchased by CBS because CBS wanted somebody to have their web properties. So even today, the culture where I work kind of has that small tech company startup feel, even though the building I work in San Francisco is 7 stories. It's the headquarters for the company. So it's kind of a funny mix of the corporate culture, but then at the same time, it has that really the small tech company feel, which I like. It's a lot of fun. And then as far as the CNET site that I work for, I'm sure you all, how many of you have heard of CNET? Yeah, I assume so. I just want to make sure. According to ComScore, we have 34.2 million unique visitors, and that's only visitors from the U.S. And so internationally, I don't even know, but I know we have a lot of international users as well. And for the video, which I'm going to be talking about, because that's the team that I'm currently working on, we stream 13.7 million videos per month. Which, I mean, to me, when I saw that number, I was just kind of like, what? It's kind of mind-boggling. I mean, I didn't work out the math to how many that is, like, per minute, but I'm sure it's considerable. So, the video path, obviously you have to record the video to start out, and then it ends with the end user. There are a lot of steps and a lot of things that are involved along the way. For CNET, we do, well, first of all, let me talk about the videos that we do. CNET itself is mostly well known for its reviews and its downloads and its news. We don't do any actual news. We don't record any of our own news videos for CNET, but we do record videos for all the product reviews and any tech product you could think of. We have a video review for it. And we also record videos for, what started out as podcasts, which are now video podcasts, which we stream live as well. I'm going to be talking about live streaming a little later. And we call that our CNET TV. And if you just go to cnettv.com, you can see those. And there are currently 10 different shows. We're going to be adding a holiday show here next week. And there are many users as well who watch those. And we have there's all different kind of ways that we offer those videos, because as a content creator and provider, the goal obviously is to have as many people as possible watch your stuff. So with the CNET TV, there was a brand new team was created in July. And I started at the company in April. I was hired on to work on the CNET News site as a front-end web developer. After 3 months, they created a brand new team called Emerging Platforms. And so after my first 3 months there, it was July, then I was transferred to the Emerging Platforms team. And so that encompasses the CNET TV, and it also deals with the other CNET properties like reviews and news and such. And so what the Emerging Platforms team was created for is because of pretty much the explosion of all the smart devices that are out there now. CNET didn't have a way to really address all of those it was just, the news kind of handled their own thing as well as they could, and reviews handled whatever they could. So now that there's the emerging platforms team, that team is the one that supports all those different areas and either creates mobile apps for iPhone, Android, etc., or creates special mobile websites, or even just regular websites for viewing on the web. Let's see, we record all our videos in high def, so all of the videos that we offer do have a high def option provided that your device and or bandwidth can support that. For the encoding process, the video is uploaded to actually a third party that takes care of the encoding, and when the video is encoded, it's encoded into different formats depending on what player we want it to be compatible with. And then it's also encoded in, I think, about 8 different bit rates. And then, let's see, 8 different resolutions, and then various bit rates as well. So you upload one video, and you just get out a list of a bunch of files that are all the same thing. But, again, you want to be able to provide the optimal experience depending on whether people are watching it on a small screen, all the way up to, we now offer a Google TV site. Let's see. As far as hosting, I don't really have a whole lot to talk about on this slide. And then for the end user, I've already touched on it, but the end user is going to either access it on the web on their computer with a web player, and that could be either a desktop or a laptop. It could be on a device, and then they also have the option to just download the video as just a video file, and then watch that on an external player. So we do both on-demand and live video. Things like the reviews videos and stuff, those are all on-demand, those are not streamed live. However, the video podcasts that we do, those are streamed live at the time they're recorded. And let's see, so first I'm going to talk about on-demand video. Does anyone know the difference between a codec and a container as far as video is concerned? All right. A codec is the actual bits that comprise the video itself, video and or audio. And that is in one of various formats. And then the container is actually the wrapper file that gets wrapped around the audio and the video. And the container is what has the file extension, whether it's FLV for Flash, MP4, .mpg, .mov, .avi, all that stuff. So those are all the file formats that have the 3-letter extension are the containers, and then inside are the actual codecs. And each of the containers supports generally many different codecs for both video and audio, and they all have their various pros and cons, of course, depending on what the use is for the video. For our codec, we use the H.264 MPEG-4. That's generally that's the current video standard, just because it has really high quality, small file sizes, and it does support other things as well, like captioning for accessibility issues and things like that. Let's see, talk about the container. Obviously, something that everyone is running into right now with video is the whole Flash versus HTML5 debate, which has been really, is all Apple's doing pretty much, because they do not support Flash on their iOS devices. Flash has generally been, for many years, the standard way to deliver video on the internet, just because it has a very robust player. It offers a lot of functionality that can be included, because there's the Flash player, and then the Flash player itself can be programmed with ActionScript, which is similar to JavaScript, but it's obviously a scripting language, hence the script in the name. And it offers a lot of functionality, so you can do things like video overlays, or any kind of way that you want the user to be able to interact with the video or the player or anything. You're going to code it in ActionScript because it's just easiest that way. So everything has been in Flash, and then Apple comes along and they decide that they don't want to support Flash anymore because they're backing a different standard. And the word standard itself is kind of misunderstood, I think, sometimes. But so now, as a content provider, we have to concern ourselves with supporting Flash, because that's what we have always built, and that's what our code base is Flash. And now we also have to branch and support the iOS devices, because, like I said, we want the users to be able to see the video and access this stuff on as many different devices as possible. And so if we just say, oh, well, we don't want to support the Apple devices, well, then there goes a large part of our market. So as the provider, it's kind of a headache dealing with this stuff. And actually, there's one guy on my team now, and he's primarily the iOS guy. So he does all the iOS apps and programming for that stuff. And then, like I was saying, with the standards, in anything like this, the tech world in general, there are official versus de facto standards. The official standard is what's actually supported on paper. This is our standard. The de facto standard is what everyone else uses. So there's a huge debate right now, obviously, with Flash versus HTML5. HTML5 being what Apple calls the standard, but then at the same time, like I said, Flash is the de facto standard because that's what everyone is using and has been using for a long time. So again, there's two competing things here. As far as the jump to HTML5, we're starting to support it, and that's actually the focus of a couple upcoming projects that we've got in the works. One of the things with that is HTML5 itself as a specification is still only just in the working draft stage, which means the standard is written out. It's accessible on the WC3 website. W3C, one of those. And so the specification is out there listed, but being a working draft, things are subject to change, although maybe not very likely that major things would change. But it is possible that major things would change. So if everyone suddenly decides to abandon Flash, jump over to HTML5, the fact that it's still only a working draft, you write all this code, and then something changes in the draft, you're going to have to go back and change it. So, designers and their managers who control them are trying to kind of balance that right now. And because you have to think of what's best. You don't want to put all your time into suddenly supporting HTML5 when the standard itself isn't even ready yet, and then you're going to get spotty support from the browsers themselves because it's still just a work in progress. And that's one of the things I don't understand with Apple is they're all HTML5, yay, but it's not even an official standard yet. It's still just a work in progress. So it's hard to make that leap, just because it's not ready. I was at the HTML5 website on the W3C, and it's not expected to actually reach the next stage of the process until 2012. So we're still, we're at the end of 2010 now, so maybe a year and a half, but we're still even a year and a half out from getting out of the working draft stage. So, so Apple needs to support Flash. Let's see. Oh, and the other thing, I talked about the codecs and the containers. I was looking at Wikipedia, it's a great source for everything. And the containers, like I said, support various codecs. All right, so there's the FLV, which is the Flash video file format, which is a container. And then there's the .mp4, which is another container. .mp4 is what the iOS devices will play. The funny thing is the Flash video, FLV, and MP4, if you look at their supported codecs for both video and audio, there is so much overlap. They both support the MPEG-3, the H.264 MPEG-4 video. They both support MP3 and AAC and a bunch of different other formats. So, I mean, I don't know. When I look at that stuff, I don't quite understand the issue. It almost seems like a non-issue because, yes, your wrapper is different, but like the actual string of bits underneath is the same. So I don't understand why. I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me. And as a web developer, this stuff causes me headaches because we have to support everything. Oh my gosh, we still have to support Internet Explorer. It drives me insane. Seriously. Luckily, literally just within the last month, we stopped supporting officially Internet Explorer 6. Finally, we're letting it die. That has been such a headache for me these last few months because everything looks great in even IE8 is okay as far as Outrigger's pages, but everything looked great in Firefox, Safari, even Opera, Chrome, and then you open up the page, it looks great in all these other browsers, and you open it up in Internet Explorer 6 or 7, and then there's all this other tweaking that has to go on to get it to work. That takes up so much of my time. Let's see, so I covered HTML5. So that's the on-demand video, which is static. There's a video file somewhere, we host it, and then the user comes to the web page, either downloads it or just streams it on there. But the thing is, it's a static file. And next, going with live video adds a little extra into the mix. Again, there's the recording and encoding process, but for the live video, the encoding is happening as the recording is taking place. And again, the encoding covers many different bit rates and resolutions. For the transmission itself, what happens is when the user goes to the site, they access a playlist file, which is basically just a text file that you can read, and it has various things in there. It has information about the different bit rates so that the player can handle bit rate switching actually. So if the user is watching live video and they have a really high bandwidth connection, say you're on some device and you're on a Wi-Fi, and then you leave your Wi-Fi and you're still watching the video and it switches over to 3G, then the playlist file has the information so that the player can switch to the lower bitrate stream so that the video is still visible and of optimal quality for the way in which it is being viewed. Let's see. When the playlist file is accessed, then it has information about the current chunk that is on. And then it also has information about all the previous chunks so that, if the user goes to the site and say we're 20 minutes into a broadcast, they'll pick it up right where it is live, with obviously a few seconds delay for the encoding process and transmission and stuff. But, so they'll get, say they're coming 20 minutes into the show and they pick it up there. If they want, they have the option, they can just scrub the player backwards and go back. So it's not like a TV broadcast where you come in and it's live and that's it. You can't go backwards. The playlist file allows that. They're really they're simple, but they're pretty powerful with the things that they offer. Let's see. Covered the multi-bit rate support. For the transmission itself, it's done through what's called RTSP. So at the beginning, the user doesn't see this. The user accesses the HTTP page. But behind the scenes, in what's linked with the video player, it's actually through an RTSP link, which stands for Real-Time Streaming Protocol. It still uses a TCP connection, so both ends are connected to each other, the client and the server. HTTP itself is what is called stateless, and RTSP is stateful, so it keeps track of the current state of what's happening in between that connection, because obviously with live stream, you have to constantly know, the server needs to know what's going on with the client, because if the client drops out or whatever, the server needs to know that so it can pick up the transmission where it ended, if it ended for any reason. And let's see, multi-bit rate support. Does anyone have any questions so far about any of this stuff? show you real quick. So CNET Live is me. Okay, yeah. There's currently no live show. We actually just released, this is CNET Live. Internally, we called it CNET Live 2.0. We just did a redesign of the live site, and this was released yesterday at about 1 o'clock after a couple weeks of delays because my company is finishing the process of a data center move. So for the last 6 or 7 weeks, things have just been really hairy because development servers have been down, and it's just been a process trying to get anything done. But let's see, I was one of the designers on this, and then I was working with one other designer on this. And we just released it yesterday. So if you come here, and here's the schedule of the shows. If you come here and there is a live show streaming, then the video player, after it plays the ad, of course, will just pop up the live video. If there is no live video playing at the moment, then it will just play the most recent video that was broadcast live. So, which in this case would be our dialed-in show. Anyway. Oh, and if you're watching an on-demand show, so a not live show, and a live show comes up, then JavaScript in the background is constantly pulling the servers, the API, to see if there are any live streams. And so if a live stream does come up, then you'll get a little notification saying, hey, we're now streaming the show live, and you have the option of clicking on it and watching that. So obviously this is an example of a web video player through the web interface, and it's meant for just the broadest audience with desktop and laptop computers. When we design pages like this, we don't design them necessarily to be compatible with the mobile web or things like that, because as I said, right now we're in the process of providing alternate means of support for all of those devices. So let's see. All right, so coming up to our devices here. So now designing for the internet, there is just so much to keep in mind. Like I said, ultimately it always comes down to you want your users to be able to see this stuff whenever, wherever they want to. My company makes its money by advertising, and so the more views we have of that stuff, the better off we do. So if we make a conscious decision that we're not going to support something, that ultimately hurts the bottom line, and it doesn't even make good business sense. So this is just kind of the list that I came up with for all the different things that we are working on supporting right now, whether we actively support them or whether we plan to in the near future. So obviously the traditional internet, desktops and laptops, you just go to your page and there it is. You watch it on your computer on, a standard display, whatever you have, generally meant for broadband, of course. There's the mobile internet, which is upcoming. Actually, we'll be talking about it more next week. I heard about it for the first time in yesterday's meeting. We'll be working on a mobile site to tie in to our current mobile apps to be able to watch live video streams. CES is coming up in January, major tech convention, and CNET is always a large part of that. And we have reporters that go there and they cover it live with either blog posts or photo galleries, and now we're going to start doing live video streams from there. So we'll be working on mobile internet sites. And what we're going to be doing is it's basically just going to be a player page accessible from within whatever mobile app is being used, because we currently have apps for iPhone and Android. And so within the existing app, we'll be able to add something that will, seamlessly, as far as the user is concerned, they won't be able to notice the transition that they are going to a web page. But instead of actually having to design, more for the app, which is generally a more difficult process than just doing web design, then they'll be able to go to, select live video stream, and then just be able to see whatever video is streaming live from the CES floor. So that's going to be really exciting. The smartphones obviously are the biggest mobile internet accessors right now, although the tablet wars are beginning. And so now there's going to be another, all right, so all the mobile internet sites up to this point have pretty much been designed, for a smartphone size screen. Now with tablets, we have either 7-inch coming up, or the iPad is obviously a little bigger. And so because we record our videos in high def, and we have the capability of offering those videos in high def, we need to be mindful of, okay, well, who's accessing this video and what device are they on? Because we build smart web pages that are able to look at the headers that come over from the HTTP request and see what kind of device it is, and so then we know, how big the screen size is. Because if somebody's on a smaller screen, you don't want to give them more resolution than they need, because that's going to hog bandwidth with no benefit. But at the same time, if somebody wants to stream something on the iPad, you don't want to give them video that's meant for a smaller screen. They have the iPad and it has a good resolution screen on it, and we have the video, so why not give them the high resolution video? As far as device-specific apps, I've already talked about that a little bit, the different apps that we have. I personally was able to go to a few different sessions from the BlackBerry Developer Conference that was a couple weeks ago, last month, right in San Francisco. The office I work at is in 2nd Street in San Francisco, 2 blocks away from the Moscone Center. So it's funny that there's always, it seems like every month there's some big tech-related convention going on. And it's really exciting just being right there, because it's like, okay, I'm at work for a little while. Okay, I'm going to pop over and go sit in on this seminar at the BlackBerry Developer Conference. Okay, I'm going back to work now. So it was great sitting in on BlackBerry. They're coming up with their with the BlackBerry tablet that's coming out. I can't remember what it's called right now. Playbook, I think. But they're coming up with the BlackBerry tablet, which is going to be kind of half size between a smartphone and the iPad. And of course, everyone is speculating on how successful it will be and that kind of thing. But for my company, again, do we want BlackBerry owners to be able to access our content or not? That's ultimately what it comes down to. So we don't do any active BlackBerry support yet, although that is something that we will be working on pretty soon as we get caught up with the other things. Up until recently, the device-specific apps that CNET has done have actually been handled by third-party vendors. So with the creation of the emerging platforms team in July, the goal is to bring all that development in-house. For myself, my senior project was actually a BlackBerry app that tied into an internet interface. And so, this is just so exciting for me personally. It's just amazing being able to work on this stuff. Because it's so cutting edge. It's literally the bleeding edge of technology. It's amazing how it's working out. And then at the bottom, I don't know if you guys can see that with this table here, but there's Google TV was just released last month, and what that is it will be built. It is built into some TVs like Sony, and then it's also available just as a separate box by itself. And It does not have Android App Store support yet, but that's coming. But it's a way of, I don't know, every time I think of Google TV, it makes me think of WebTV 10 years ago, which was, like, didn't work at all. But hopefully Google does it a little better. And so Google TV lets you go to the internet, and it obviously uses a Chrome browser because it's Google. Gives you a nice full frame with, you know, no bars or anything, so you just get a full screen web experience. And then it's also possible to develop apps for it on the Android platform. And like I said, you know, Google released it, and they're still releasing things right now. But as far as my involvement, we actually designed our CNET TV site, which does not do the live streaming, but offers all of the other video content that we have. We redesigned our CNET TV site specifically, well, we created a version of it, I should say. We created a version of it specifically for Google TV, and because CNET is such a well-known tech presence, Google tapped us and said, hey, you know, we want you guys in on this. So we had, it's so funny, I don't know why, our turnaround time was so quick on that. We didn't start working on this Google TV project until about 3 weeks before we were supposed to deliver the final. And so, you know, and it was me and the one other web developer who works on this stuff. So we were very busy for 3 weeks, in addition to, you know, dealing with kind of the other run-of-the-mill day-to-day bugs that we have to work out with everything. But let's see, when we finally gave the final thing, we worked with Google. We showed them a couple different versions, and of course, you know, they had their different suggestions and stuff. But ultimately, they liked the design that we came up with and the way we had it handled. The thing is, developing for Google TV, it's the marriage of internet and TV, but it's less internet and more TV as far as the behavior itself is concerned. And what I mean by that is you turn on the TV and you just pick up whatever show's playing right then. You know, obviously you can change your channels, but unless, you know, throwing out TiVo and DVRs and stuff, you can't pause it or rewind it. You just kind of have this stream that's coming. With TV, people kind of expect sound. So, you know, with web design, we don't build in, you know, little clicks every time you change menus, or when you click on something, you know, we don't have some sound effect that goes with it. But designing for Google TV, you kind of have to rethink what you're doing, because people do expect that, you know, as you're moving down in a menu, you want to be able to hear sound feedback because you're having that TV experience, which is full audio visual. So it's just interesting, you know, each of these things in this list, they all have their different little idiosyncrasies that have to be thought of when things are being designed. Let's see, and then brand new stuff that's also coming out are things that are kind of on the same page as Google TV, Boxy, Roku player. TVs are now coming with their own apps, where we will be working on something coming up soon that has to do with that. So that will be another fun experience, I'm sure. So I mean, there's just so many different ways to get content out there. I'm going to go ahead and open up the Google TV link, and again, I have the HTTP header override in this URL, but to access it on the Google TV, you just go to cnettv.cnet.com. There's nothing special you need to do. And from the HTTP headers, because Google TV actually in the platform string, they actually include Google TV. So then what we do is we parse that and say, oh, is this Google TV? Okay, well then we're going to show them the Google TV version of our website. So this is what that looks like. This is a very narrow screen, so I think we're going to be a little bit cut off here.
Hey everyone, I'm Molly Wood, and welcome to CNET on Google TV. Don't be
zoom out here. So the first time it's accessed, it pops up with this little help screen because it is a brand new platform, so people aren't going to know how to use it. The nice thing about developing for something like this is we know that the users are generally going to be tech savvy because early adopters generally are. So, yes, we have this kind of stuff, but we don't have to get into really, hardcore help stuff just because, it's not going to be someone who doesn't even know how to use a mouse who's trying to use their Google TV because they won't have bought one anyway. So, let's see. So on the Google TV, it's
friends, Brian saw here on this Thursday, November the 8th, a little sprinkling of the hottest videos on our playlist.
The Google TV keyboard, it actually played in that first help video, I don't know if you noticed. But I mean, it's basically a regular keyboard, and then on the right-hand side of the keyboard, there's the standard directional pad with a center enter button, and then there's like a trackpad and stuff for mouse. So building this, we had to support both the mouse support and then also the directional pad. I did most of the design. And then all of these videos, like the actual video lists and stuff, these are all pulled from our API. So each of these things is a different request to our API server. And then the playlist is generated based on that list. Little things like, putting the timestamp over here, HTML, CSS, and just based on the API call. The now playing, because the video player communicates with the JavaScript, of course, and so that we can keep track of the now playing. Before I got this job, I didn't know anything about JavaScript, and they knew that when they hired me, but they assumed that I might be able to learn it pretty quick, which I did, of course. But so my first foray into JavaScript, actually, see the red selection. I did the JavaScript that controls the sliding of the playlist, and so that was pretty much the first time I had done anything in JavaScript. So it was a fun process because JavaScript, I don't know, it's just another programming language. At this point, to me, they all are starting to look pretty similar, just because there's JavaScript and ActionScript. It's all pretty similar as long as you can read code. Then it's easy to pick up on. But it was funny because I'd set something up and get something working, and then even as little as 2 days later, having had another basically 16 hours of on-the-job training doing this stuff, I'd go back to a class that I wrote or a function that I wrote, and I'd be like, wow, that's really complex, and I'd be able to simplify it. So, but I love learning in general, and I always like to know as much as possible. So, so something like this is just like Christmas for me every day. It's great. So then, as you select these two, then it pops up as a sub playlist here, and then you can select that, and it will change this playlist. So this is our CNET Top 5 show. And in keeping with the TV experience, as each video ends, it just picks right up and plays the next one in the playlist. So like YouTube and stuff, you play a YouTube video and then it stops. That's it until you select your next video. But that's the internet experience. So this is, again, kind of mixing the two. So that's pretty much all I've got to say. I came in with a couple minutes to spare. Yeah.
Is your Google TV, is that Flash or is that all HTML5?
It's all Flash.
Oh, it's Flash.
Yeah. We use the same video player across the site, and it's been Flash for years, so it is Flash. I'm just learning that now myself too. I'm actually going to Flash training this week in the evenings, and then I'll be taking the ActionScript class in another couple weeks. My co-developer that I work with, he's been with the company forever, and he's a really good knowledge base. I ask him questions all the time. He knows all the Flash video player stuff, so my boss's boss wanted to get me up to speed on the Flash player too, just because for the CNET itself, not CBS Interactive, but for CNET, there are only 2 people who deal with the video player. One of them is the guy who's on my team. Another one is somebody who's based in our New York office. And so now I'm going to be getting up to speed on that, just because it's always better to have more people know it. But yeah, it is a Flash player. We are, let's see, the other web developer who's on my team, he has been working on an HTML5 player for a little while with these high priority projects that we've been working on. He hasn't had a lot of time to devote to it, but that is something that, yes, we are definitely planning to support it. It is in the works, but again, we have to be careful because, the standard is subject to changes. Other questions? Yes?
I came in a little late. Hi, Will. As an alum, can you provide any valuable insight to our current students about your experience here at Sonoma State and things that you valued that you did or things that you would do differently?
Well, yeah, because like I was saying, when I got hired, I didn't have any JavaScript experience, for one thing, and I was applying for a web developer position. So the top 3 things were HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I came in and I said, I know a little bit about HTML. I don't really know anything about CSS, and I've never used JavaScript. And but I still got hired. But what they looked at was the fact that I, yes, had a degree to begin with. I was able to show them some of the projects that I had done. There was a guy who worked there, although he quit just a couple months ago, who was known as the JavaScript guy. And in the interview process, oh my gosh, it was such a crazy interview. 4.5 hours with 7 different people. But in the interview process, what he did is he just brought up some JavaScript code on the screen and says, okay, let's see if you can read this. So even though I didn't know JavaScript, I'm able to read code. And so so I was able to be like, oh, well, this looks like a function, and this does this, and this does this. So so as far as being a current student, get as much different knowledge as you can. Don't just focus on the things that are required, but try to do some of your own learning yourself. Things you're interested in, obviously is a big thing because there's demand for all kinds of different stuff, even in the company I work for. Because I'm a web developer, but even on my floor and people around me, there are people who are software developers, or they're the back-end coders. So, if let's see. So just focus on the things you want to know, the things that you are learning. It's good to have a really broad knowledge at the same time that you can have a little more specialized knowledge. Because if you're just focused on the broad knowledge and you don't have any specialty knowledge, then that could work into your disadvantage as well as the converse of that. Obviously, study and work hard.
Is CBS hiring? I mean,
all the time.
Okay.
Yeah, oh my gosh, I hear from so many people that, oh, I can't find a job, I can't find a job. I got hired in April, which, supposedly we're in a down job market, although tech is already picking up. But even from the time, there are about 700 people in my building, and it's the world headquarters for CBS Interactive. So in addition to all the software and web stuff, there's also accounting and finance and all that kind of stuff too. But even as far as the software and stuff is concerned, I got there in April and I still see, I don't know, at least 1 or 2 new people coming in every month. And actually, my company in particular is focusing more on hiring at the associate level, which is what I was hired at, which is basically, you're fresh out of school, you don't have a lot or any, training experience apart from that, but if you're able to show that you have a good drive and knowledge and you've done well in school, then, they're totally going to hire you. So, yeah, they're hiring all the time.
We heard what you said about IE. What's your opinion of rock melt?
I just heard about that, and I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. Yeah, but I did just see an article about that.
You might wind up supporting that too, right?
I don't know. It seems like instead of working towards a focal point, everything in tech, and especially web development, just gets increasingly fragmented. So,
Thanks very much.